Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Cities Skylines. I hope you're having a good one because I am excited to be back. It's been a little while since the last episode, but we're finally back in Nerdinburgh. And I'm excited to be back because I've actually been a little bit busy. I know I've not posted an episode of the series in a hot minute, but I've been playing some Cities Skylines and I've been having a pretty good time. I also was taken aback slightly because YouTube Gaming tweeted out the last episode of this series, and that sort of came out of nowhere. That was kind of cool, though. Like, you know, a tweet going up on an account with like 1.9 million people following it on Twitter. That was kind of cool. Just saying. You know, to the like one person at YouTube Gaming that now knows I exist. Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, let's talk a little bit, as we usually do, about the changes that have taken place between this episode and the last one, because there are actually some pretty substantial changes, and I'm kind of excited to talk about them. And it's nothing to do with this, by the way. The university is something that we are going to be working on, and it's something that we'll work on over time as this thing gets more students and more academic works. Now, it does have all the works it needs, but we'll go ahead and get another one, you know, for future reference. Now, I've not touched this at all. I've actually turned my hand back towards this part of town because, well, two reasons. Number one, because traffic is absolutely terrible in here, and my traffic flow in general is 72% with a lot of red, a whole lot of red, and I'm not happy about it. But I wanted to make this area feel a little different, so I had planned on recording this whole process, and I had planned on walking you through what I was going to do, but I just got really hooked on listening to some music and chatting with some people in Discord and just hanging out and vibing and playing some Cities Skylines. So essentially, I pulled up a whole bunch of buildings and I replaced them with a department store, with a cinema, with some park stuff down here as well. And with some of these buildings, such as the local register office, we've got the downtown hotel, we've got the station department store, and we've got the rail yard shopping center. Now, these are all buildings that exist in here somewhere. They exist in here, which I like a lot, honestly. I think these buildings are pretty cool. And they give a bit of a different vibe to this area. They make it feel a little bit more built, a little bit more shopping focused, and that's what I wanted. I also wanted to enclose this station a little bit more, so that's something I've done, and I also extended the track, but we'll talk about that in just a second. Long story short, I just wanted to make this area look designed. I wanted it to feel like you could come along this road, you get to here, and it just looks like a really built up area. And I think with this, you know, cinema at the angle, thanks to Move It, I think it does. I think it looks a lot more interesting. Then you've got this department store here, which I feel like this would be like Harrods in London, which I have a story to tell you about that, but we'll get to that in just a second. My other plan, which I haven't done yet, was that I might try and run a path up through the middle of these trees so that you can, you know, exit this forest essentially and be presented with the cinema. But at the same time, we have this tram track which people can walk on, so we might not really need to do that. Now, I do want to move up this way because I have gone ahead and extended some road up here, and we do have a train line actually coming out here, despite the fact that, you know, no one's really gonna be using this thing, which is fine. I just figured, you know, I might as well extend this train line out rather than just sort of terminating it right here, because obviously it's not gonna go straight through past City Halls, so I figured it would go this way, and maybe we'll connect these two down here to all of that at some point as well. Now, speaking of down here, I did also go ahead and build a little pedestrian overpass for the highway because I figured that would look kind of interesting. And I have also built some fences along here just to enclose that space a little bit. And I think that's about everything. I think that's about everything I've done. Obviously, I did go ahead and put some detailing in here around the train line, but that is, I believe, about everything that I've done. Now, what I want to do today is start working on actually expanding the city a little bit, because I feel like we haven't expanded the city in a fairly long time. So I want to try and fill this space up. And this is actually originally where I was going to build the department store. And I did toy around with the idea of building multiple department stores, but these things are $2,800 per week. So building, you know, multiple department stores, not a great idea, it turns out. They're very expensive. So we might have to deal with some other buildings, but we have stuff like the resort hotel, which is kind of cool looking. We have the city office building. We have this thing. We have some towers as well, which honestly, I kind of want to play around with. I kind of like the idea of trying to build like an actual skyline. I would even be tempted to go in and put a high-rise ban on everything else just to get a proper skyline in here. So that might be something we do. But for now, we're going to get started by just building some roads. So I want to go ahead and bring a section of avenue from here. And I'm just going to take it straight out to this existing road because I can. I might as well. So we'll do this. And that's going to give us a straight shot into the main street. It's going to give us a straight shot down to here. And it also gives me something to build off of in terms of the rest of this district. Because I kind of want to build... Well, you know what? Let's use a different road here. Let's use this one. And let's do one with bus lanes on the side just to make it feel a little bit different. So we're going to do this. And we're going to have to do some smoothing because straight slopes are on apparently. So let's go ahead and smooth some of this area out just a little bit. I might even have to, you know what? I'm going to be a little bit risky here. And I'm going to go ahead and just grab all of the nodes along this road. And I'm going to just smooth all of those out. So we're going to slope it like so, which is fine. And I'm going to go ahead and just bulldoze all of the buildings along here as well. Just so they rebuild, so they look, you know, proper. We'll hit this with a smoothing brush, which gives us a nice flat area to play with. And the good old paths here kind of need a little bit of love as well. So let's bring those up to the right height. Let's bring you up to this height right there. And that seems fine. So that's going to give us an area to play with. And I guess, I mean, I did mention I have a bit of a story about Harrods. So let's go ahead and get into London story time. I think I have mentioned already, kind of recently, that I did go to London in, I want to say it was January. I think it was January. I'm pretty sure it was January. Well, I did. I went to London in January, and I very recently went to Manchester, which is great. But I went to London in January, and I went to Harrods, and I don't know how much of this story I might have told already, but it's one that's relevant because I like to view this department store as sort of Harrods in London. Now, I should mention, if you don't know what Harrods is, it's a department store, but it's like a very high-end department store. It's the kind of department store you can go into, and in the window of one of the departments, I say departments, they're all like individual shops essentially, but in the window of one of these shops, you can look at like a bottle of wine, and you might think to yourself, oh, well, this is kind of an upper class, you know, fancy kind of store. It's going to be like 100, 200 pounds, you know, let's say $300 bottle of wine. Kind of expensive, right? You would be right that it is kind of expensive, but one bottle of wine I looked at was 7,500 pounds, or let's say about $9,000. I saw cigars for like $250 a pop. Well, you know, I went and got food in Harrods, and actually before I'm going to put a pin in that story because I'm actually going to have to do some design here and figure out what this district's going to look like. Let's get some buildings. Let's get some skyscrapers and let's, this is what I'll do. I'm just going to place them like this, and then I'll move them around to where I want them to be. Because we have a pretty, oh, do I want to do all of the skyscrapers in this area? I kind of feel like I do, and I kind of feel like we need less European or fewer European buildings here. Because this is going to look weird having like these European buildings right next to these giant skyscrapers, but we'll figure it out. Anyway, so let me go ahead and place these and continue my story. So we've gone to Harrods, right? We're getting some food. We're like, oh, we're hungry. Well, there's an Italian place. There's a place that does a bunch of what do you call it? Sushi. There's a lot of places that would be good for getting food. And I'm like, well, I like Italian. I'm not big on sushi, so let's do Italian. So we went and did Italian. I ordered what was essentially a fancy pasta carbonara, which, if you don't know what a pasta carbonara is, in the most simplistic sense, it's like a pasta with sort of a cheese cream kind of sauce that's nicely seasoned and has like, it doesn't have bacon in it, but it might as well have bacon in it. If you're doing a budget carbonara, then it basically has bacon in it. So we got one of those each, and I got a cocktail. I think my girlfriend got a Coke, and I think that was about it. That was about all we got from Harrods. And for all of that, the total price was about the equivalent of $120 for just, now let me clarify. This is like a plate of pasta that was average at best, right? I just want to clarify that part. It wasn't even good pasta. It was okay. And I really do mean just okay. For that price, you would think it's like amazing quality. Nah, it was okay. I've had better. I've had a lot better pasta, to be completely honest. So, you know, getting charged that much for a bowl, a plate of pasta, and not even good pasta, it was kind of annoying. I'm gonna be honest. It was kind of frustrating. But the whole point of what I'm getting at is, fast forward a few weeks, and I think we're both here in Northern Ireland, and it's like, oh, what do you want to do for food? Well, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. And it's like, oh, we'll do this. We'll make a pasta dish. And we made this pasta dish. And you know what was annoying about it? It was really good. And the reason that was annoying is because it made me realize that Harrods is charging, you know, 80 pounds or whatever for pasta, when for about the equivalent of like £5, I can make something better at home, like a lot better. And that's annoying to realize. It's annoying to realize because what you're realizing is, or what I was realizing is, I got ripped off. Basically, that's kind of what I was realizing. That's not a fun feeling. that's not a fun feeling at all. Anyway, we have a lot of buildings here. And it's not much of an interesting skyline. I kind of want to mess around with this a little bit and see if we can't make something that looks, that's a little bit better. I might move this guy down to here just to space them out a little bit. And that's a little more interesting. I think we're going to need something in here. And I think actually what I want to do is put this guy in there. So let me do, let's see, let me do this. So we'll go back to here, and we'll do a little one-way road that goes, say, $300 that way, goes 300 to the middle, goes 300 to there, down to here and across to there. Can I put this building on that road? That is, oh, just about. Just about. I might bring it in a little bit, or I might swap it out for another building. Let's put this guy back over here. So let's put it, I want to say there. And let's see what other buildings we have that I could play with in that space. Now, not you. We do have this courthouse that I'd like to play with. I think it would look good over towards the old town. That guy's not going to fit. We have the clock tower, and we have whatever this is. I've never actually seen that before. Average garbage piling per building, at least 25. Oh, well, that's new to me. What else have we got? Have I got any more skyscrapers? I have this one, which, does it go central? It does. Does it look good? It looks okay. I don't dislike that. I don't know what it is. The Majesty. I've got no idea what that is, but I don't dislike it. So I think we'll allow it. And what we'll do is go ahead and just grab the building and those nodes and level it to this height right there. And I think what I'm also going to do is grab this node, level it to the height of the building, and then grab these guys and sort of do exactly the same thing. Just so the land is a little bit flatter. And if we grab these guys, we can just slope that a little bit so it looks like this. And I think that looks okay. We can smooth that out. We can do some interesting things with it, put some buses in there. And I think that's all right. This guy is going to move down a little bit to, say, here, giving us a little bit more room between those buildings. And this is starting to give us kind of a skyline. But I want some stuff on this road as well. So let's see what else we have. I do think multi-story parking lots are going to be a good idea for a lot of this space. I know they're not the most attractive looking buildings, but I think they help to fill it up. And honestly, a lot of these buildings kind of do, you know, they're going to need a little bit of parking. Yeah, and, you know, I have gone for sort of a European vibe here and there, so multi-story parking lots, not necessarily something you would see too much of in European cities, but I think it's all right. I think we can make this work. I'm going to get rid of this guy, and having a multi-story right on that main road doesn't seem like a good use of space. So let's just get rid of that one. Let me go for a slightly bigger one. And I'm going to put it, well, can I put it anywhere that's not right on the main road? I can put it there. And I think that's not great either, really, if we're completely honest. Let's move this guy sort of right next to the train tracks. Let me move you down a little bit. That's a little better. I guess I could bring a road off of here and put some parking like right by the train tracks. I think that might be better. If I can make it fit, of course, which is kind of the challenge, but I feel like I probably could. Okay, I think this works here. We've got this little multi-story, and I put some roads that actually go into it because I thought that looks kind of cool. I've also got the transport tower back here, and then we still have a lot of space, and honestly, a lot of this is probably going to end up as surface parking and parks, but I'm kind of okay with that. I do want to see if we can get some of these buildings in here, though. Like this hotel would be kind of interesting, or like this guy, or really any of these little buildings. I think they'll look kind of strange if I just place them next to skyscrapers, but I'm thinking here is kind of an interesting spot to place some of these guys, especially if I put this one at like the corner, because it kind of feels like it should be on a corner anyway. And it is a very interesting departure from the buildings that were here already. So let's have a little bit of fun with these and see, oh my God, and just see what we can do. Because they are very much, you know, individual buildings, but at the same time, they don't look like they're just a bunch of individual buildings. And that's kind of what I'm trying to avoid them looking like. This one doesn't really fit there. This guy is, yeah, this guy's 100% not going to fit in any of those spaces. This one already exists, but I mean, I'm very tempted to copy and paste them because they are $9.60 and, well, that one's a bit more expensive, but I'm very tempted to copy this one at the very least and just place it, say, here. Because again, it is a bit different. It makes the area look a little bit more built up, and that's kind of what we're going for. So yeah, I think that's pretty solid there. And then next to it, I mean, I'm kind of feeling like we should probably do some stuff with the more modern style of building. That's kind of what I'm looking at right now. So If we were to go and look at this as a district, this is currently Meadow Hills. I think Meadow Hills is going to have to be redeveloped, if I'm completely honest. So, or at least part of it is going to have to be redeveloped. So this part right here, I'm going to cut right into that. And I'm going to say that this is going to be, you know, its own little district. So it's now Sheffield Park, which is a fine little name. I'm okay with that. And Sheffield Park is going to be a modern city center, which means the entirety of Sheffield Park is going to need to be de-zoned first to clear out all of the buildings. And then eventually it's just going to be a bunch of shopping along this this road right here. But it's also going to help us to, you know, get buildings that kind of match these guys. In fact, what if I went and moved you to like that spot right there? And then what we can do is just fill the rest of this with commercial. And that should look fine. This might be a little bit of a weird spot. What if we went ahead and did some parking in there just to fill it up a little bit? So like that. I think that's okay. I think that kind of works. I could probably shuffle it over just a little bit and back just a little bit as well to really fill that space up. There we go. I think that looks all right. Should give us a whole bunch of commercial zoning in there. And then we have this space, which is probably going to be, it's probably going to be a park, but that's all right. Let's just see what else we have. We have this guy, and it's a weird looking building. I've never really been a huge fan of that one, but it would probably be nice to place it somewhere like there. Like that's kind of cool. It does overshadow the building next to it, but well, maybe for that reason we don't place it there. Where else could I put it though? That's the real question, because there's not that many places for a building that looks like this. Okay, I think this is probably going to be good enough for a bit of a skyline for now. We do still have room for some of the modern city center buildings to pop up in here, which is great news. We've got this thing, which is the servicing services offices. I've also moved some of the skyscrapers around. I did add this chungus of a tower, which is not exactly the best looking, but it does fill up the skyline a bit more, so I think I'm going to allow it. I'm also going to move this guy down just a little tiny bit to give it a bit more space between those two towers, so it's a little bit more distinct when we do this, and I think that looks okay. I might grab more towers from the Steam Workshop, but for now, I'm not. I'm going to just leave it as is. And the only thing I want to do is extend this road to about there, maybe just a little tiny smidge further to about there. And I think that's fine. I think that kind of works. So let's get some water underneath all of these roads. We've got some water coming down there already. We'll bring some water down this way. We'll bring it underneath this road and up to that one as well. Of course, down underneath all of this as well. And we'll let the game run while I do this so that all of the buildings start getting the water that they so desperately need. And that should be all of them now getting water. They do have power connections as well, and we should see this area build up quite nicely. So I'm kind of excited about this. And I'm actually thinking this bit right here, I'm not going to have buildings in because I think it's going to look a little bit silly to have buildings, you know, facing directly back there. So I'm going to do this instead. We'll get some little paths in there so people can go back and forward. And we'll get some kind of little park in there as well. Now, for the rest of this space, I do feel like we need some buildings. I feel like we need more stuff. So I'm going to try and say that Myrtle Square is also going to be a modern city center. And I'm thinking it should probably also have a bit of an old town policy. I think that would be a good idea so we don't have heavy traffic going up and down this road here. As for right here, is that part of the district? It actually isn't. Okay. Let's make a slight change and say that this little bit down here is also going to be a part of that district. This bit isn't. And this road right here probably shouldn't be either. And this road right here as well is not going to be a part of any district, but that right there should be fine. So that's going to stop heavy traffic going across here as well, which is going to be for the best. This can also just be a give way intersection. This is going to be give way as well. And this can probably get away with being give way as well. And that should force all the traffic eventually straight down here onto this road, and that should be a bit better. And it also means, a little bit annoyingly, I can get rid of my my junction here and just go ahead and turn that entire section into 6 lanes. Although that's not quite what I'm looking for. This bit right here needs to go to there. There we go. So that should be fine. We can, of course, just set this all up properly, which if I remember right, how is it? I for the life of me, don't remember how to automatically set up these junctions. There we go. It's control click. So we control click that one. We'll control click this one. We can control click this guy and this guy. And that should be fine. This one as well, I think, can have a bit of a control click, as well as those guys too. And you know what? We'll do the entire way across here as well, just to try and get traffic moving that little bit better. There we go. So that should be fine. That gives us a bit of a skyline. I just need to figure out what to fill the spaces in with. Now, this needs to be a park. This, I feel, should be some buildings, is what I'm thinking for this space. So let's do this. And then what I think I'll do is I'll put some surface parking right there. And I'm going to do a bunch of these little parking spots right at the back here, which I know is going to look kind of silly, but I'm going to kind of do it and see how it goes, because I think it'll be kind of interesting as well. Also, this guy should probably be facing the other way, but we'll leave it for now. And what I'll do is just a little section of path that goes here, a little section of path that goes there. We can stick that right in the middle so we can get this right up to the edge of the existing sidewalks right there and there and there. Get rid of the little middle bit, and we'll just see what happens. We'll just see how that turns out. It should fill up the space, and that's kind of what we're looking for. As for here, I think kind of a similar story. We'll do this. We'll do a nice section of parking right here. And I know surface level parking's not, it's not the nicest looking thing, but it fills up the space, and that's really what I'm looking for. Let me also delete you and use move it to just put another one right there. So right about there. And what we can also do is go into all of this and say that there's going to be no parking on any of these roads, which I think kind of makes sense, to be completely honest. There really shouldn't be any parking on those roads. There's going to be no parking on these roads either, so that's fine. We actually have a good number of people walking around here already, which is great news. So hopefully this builds up and fills in that space. And then for here, I'm kind of thinking park. I'm thinking park. And for here, I don't really know. I don't think this should be a park. I think this should be buildings as well. And I think this bit we can just allow to develop normally. I don't think we really need to do anything too crazy with that bit. Although we can probably, you know, get this little path back here and a little bit of a path right there as well. But we'll just let this bit develop normally, and that'll nicely fill in that space. This bit, same story. This bit, same story. This bit, maybe this could develop as well. Yeah, I think this can be some buildings. And I think maybe here could be some buildings, and then the rest of that little space is going to be where the park goes. So what we could do is go in and do this sort of thing, just to sort of separate the buildings from the park area. And I guess this could be sort of the top end of the park. So let's see. Let's do this. Let's do this. And let's not go too crazy with this. I don't really think we need to. I think what we can do is that. And we'll just extend this out. We'll put some trees in it. We'll make it look good. And that's all it's going to be. It's not going to be an actual city park with entrances and stuff like that. I might put some fences around it, but well, I probably will put some fences around it, but it's not going to be crazy. This particular thing. Not going to be super detailed, just something kind of nice. I think it'll look better once the buildings go in, and really that's kind of going to be the trick is getting the buildings in there. Maybe to try and get some demand, maybe we should start working on an IT cluster, because we don't have any IT clusters right now. So what if I was to turn like this little bit into like an IT cluster with a couple of skyscrapers? It might look interesting. Or I don't know, somewhere like here could be an IT cluster, or any of this really could be an IT cluster as well. I think here might be most interesting though. So if we look at this district, it's all one thing. So if I was to go and say IT cluster, that is going to cause a lot of these buildings to redevelop, which is good. It's not going to be in, new office zoning, but it's going to redevelop, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. As for all this, let's go ahead and start getting some detailing around these buildings, I guess. So I've been detailing away at this area and just waiting for things to build, and seeing these buildings popping up is actually kind of cool. I did also add the Statue of Industry in here, I should mention. I think it looks fantastic in that space. And I've generally just gone ahead and tried to fill up this space with as much nature and all that stuff as I can, because I mean, it's me. You maybe know what I'm going to say. I love the juxtaposition between the skyscrapers and nature. I think it's really interesting. But then we come to this space here. Now, I did put this arch on here because I thought it looked kind of cool. And I've got some, I think, zoo fences going around this area because I thought that looked kind of cool. And it makes this feel, I don't know, it makes it feel like a bit more of an important plaza type thing. I don't really know what it makes it feel like, but I like it. I think it's interesting. I just don't know what to detail that entire space with because, well, it's a lot of space to detail is what it is. So we're going to have to figure that out, is what we're going to have to do. But I do also want to go ahead and just get as much in here as I possibly can in terms of public transport connections. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of this. And I'd like this guy to come straight back. And, well, maybe actually it comes down and goes to the front of City Hall. And then I guess it could, we don't really have bus connections through all of Kent District. We should probably do something about that. But I think what I'll also do is have this guy go to here and then just loop back, and I think that'll be okay. Now, in terms of that line, it's going to be bus line 11. I do want it to be red. I might make it pink, actually. I think we'll make it pink just to be a bit different. And I think for this, I am just going to go for the biofuel bus, just to make it a little bit more distinct and a little bit more obvious that that is the bus for this skyscraper district, as it were. So I think in terms of making this whole area look a bit more detailed, I'm going to have to do some stuff with planters, I think. And I think I'm going to have to try and get a little bit creative. So let's get some brick planters, and let's just turn off the, let's see. Let's try this to start with, because that's going to give me a really nice number of trees just along there. And it gives us something to sort of, break up that big open space, which is good. I don't, well, actually, you know what? Let's bring that down a little tiny bit further to about there. And let's do the same at this end, going to about there. And what I think I want to try and do is just shuffle this entire thing right up against the fence, because I think it might actually look kind of good having it like that. And apparently I missed this one, so that's fine. We'll just do that right there. I think that looks okay. We're going to have to obviously, lower this end a little bit. And probably raise the midpoint just a little bit, so it doesn't look quite as terrible. So that's about the midpoint there. We'll just raise you up a little, and that looks fine. Ooh, so that gives us a nice kind of line of trees down there. I think the building itself needs something though. So we could go in and do fences. We could go in and do, I guess, some park fences would be interesting. If we were to do something like, let's see, something like this, right? So run that fence right up against the building and suddenly it looks like it's, enclosing it, which is what I want it doing. So that kind of encloses that area, which is good. I think at this end of things, what we'll do is maybe that. So this area is kind of enclosed as well. And maybe that could come forward just a little. So like there. And I think that's okay. I mean, this could probably do that as well. So it's, again, kind of enclosing the building. And that gives a sense of kind of where the boundaries of the building itself are. So if I go in and I get, a nice stand or a stole or whatever I'm looking for, we can start putting some things in here. So we could say that maybe there's a, hot dog stand or whatever that is right about there. Maybe there's a couple of stalls just over this way. Maybe there's like a market in here. I don't know what this building would be. I think it's a hotel. So we'd probably just have parking lots in here, but that doesn't seem very interesting. I'd like to do something that's not just a bunch of parking lots for the surrounding areas of whatever this building is. So we could go ahead and maybe do, I don't know, like a dumpster right there. I think that's kind of interesting. We could do like a dumpster thing right there. We could do like recycling back this way a little bit. And it just fills the space. It just puts stuff in there, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. We could do some dumpsters in there, assuming they're not going to be floating, which it's kind of looking like they might be if I'm not careful here. So right there is that's a floating dumpster is what that is. Can I delete it? I absolutely can. So maybe not dumpsters. What about vehicles? Have I got any cars that I can place? I don't really. I have car washes, which are, I guess, something. I have crates. I have containers. I have parking lots. I've got paddle cars, which are, again, not really what I'm looking for. I suppose I could do, I don't know, some trucks or something, because I do have those. So like maybe for some reason there's a semi-truck back here. Maybe this is like where deliveries to the hotel go, and the semi-truck is like parked here with a, a container on the back. I think we need kind of a big container though. What is this? That definitely doesn't match. It's not very big either. That one's pretty good. So let's go for that guy and just shuffle it into position. And maybe that's like food getting delivered to the hotel or something. It doesn't really matter too much what it is. But we'll do this kind of thing. And it tells a story, right? It's something being delivered to the building. And that's kind of what I want to do. It's kind of tell, sort of that story here. We'll also just turn this slightly so it looks like it's backed in. And that seems fine. Maybe at the back of the truck, we have some pallets. Maybe there's been some boxes already loaded off of the truck right here. And maybe there's a forklift that's here to help unload the truck. So something like that. So you have just a little story going on there with like, I don't know, containers or whatever getting loaded into the kitchens of this hotel. I don't really know, what exactly the story might be, but I think that's fine. I also like the idea of at the front here, just doing some of these posts, because what we can do, if I can get the spacing on these right, is we could maybe go with the idea that these are those traffic control posts that can retract into the ground. So we have them right there, and they're extended right now to, you know, close the area. But when the truck's coming out, they retract into the ground, the truck can get out, and then they close again. So something like that on both sides, I think it's pretty solid. And maybe we do some parking spaces here next to the building. Maybe this is where staff can park, right? So this area can actually have that purpose as well. So let's see what we can do. Let's space these guys out a little bit. Let's go for about here, and let's go for a rotate that way. And we probably want to get that exact. So probably exactly 90 degrees. And the spacing is going to have to be, well, it's going to have to be about spot on, which is about there. That looks pretty good to me. So let's just move you down a little bit and go for that. And that can be employee parking. That's what that can be, which means if I go and grab an arrow, we can say that there is an arrow pointing this way and an arrow pointing that way. And that's your, you know, in and out of that area. So it just adds a little bit of detail. It just makes it feel a little bit more interesting, a little bit more alive, like there's a little something going on there. And that's I don't know, it just feels like a story. And that's what I'm looking for. So let's, I guess in the vein of, you know, telling stories and fully detailing this place, let me just put this guy against that little fence right there. In fact, we'll do it this way, so the fence is kind of in the middle of the planter. And I like that. I like that a lot. In fact, I like that I can raise this up a little bit. So that right there, I think is solid. And we could maybe do like a little market in here. I don't really know. I don't know why this fence wouldn't just go straight back to this wall. I don't know what this space would be. But I like this. Let's try and do like some stands back here, some stalls, whatever. We'll try and make something interesting. You know, I think this is actually kind of cute. I'm not gonna lie. I like the idea of just a little market thing right here next to this hotel. I assume it's a hotel. I really don't know what it is, but I'm going to go with the idea that it is in fact a hotel. And I think a little market right there is kind of nice. So now we kind of need to turn our attention to the other side. And that's where things get a little bit tricky, because I really don't know what to do with the other side of this place. I'm thinking what we can do is a bit more parking. And that kind of feels like the only thing that we can really do with this side is just a bit more sort of employee looking parking. I really should go to the Steam Workshop and get some cars that I can put in here, but I think that works. And I would be tempted to place another truck back there just because it's going to fill up the space. You know, it's going to be something that can fill the space. So I'm going to put a truck, I'm going to say here, and we can go with the idea that maybe it's, you know, another delivery or something like that. It's a different delivery on this side of the building. Maybe it's fresh. I don't know what it is, but it's something. It's fresh something. Ideas in the comments, please, because I am running out of them in terms of, you know, ideas for what a hotel would get delivered via truck. I really don't know. But there's, you know, another truck. There's another, it's another story being told is what it is. As for the rest of this place being completely bare, I really don't know. I'd kind of like to get, I guess, more planters in there, but I don't really know what way to do it, because it's a little tricky. I guess if I go here and I do say that, I guess I can move the nodes into wherever they need to be. So this node would be say there. This node would be, say, there, because I don't want to go too crazy with it. And then this would just sort of be rotated a bit like that. And, you know, this guy kind of comes down a little bit, gets rotated a bit like that. It's a little lazy, perhaps, but it does add just a bit of green to that space, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. A little cramped here, perhaps, but that's, again, probably all right. Maybe we get rid of that decal just to open the space a little bit. Definitely think that helped. And honestly think that lets me... That would probably let me put more trees along that entire space there. And honestly, some trees around this entire thing would probably help it feel a bit less barren. That's maybe something we're going to have to look into. But I'll tell you what. I am a little bit lost for ideas and what to fill this space with. So leave suggestions in the comments below for what you think that entire space should be. I'm also wondering, what is this? What have I done here? What is this, like a resource or something? I actually have no idea what's going on there with the color of that grass. A bit weird looking, isn't it? It's apparently terrain paint doing it though, so that's... Oh, it's that. Okay, well that's a thing. It's also done it there as well, which I would really like it not to do. So let's just clear... Ooh. What is going on there? That is not good. It's sort of fixing itself now though, I guess. Just a little bit weird the way the oh, I see what's going on. Wait, no I don't. I have no idea what's going on with this. I don't know why the grass is acting up. That's kind of weird. I guess we just paint that entire section in with grass and we'll leave it be. I think that's just a thing. But yeah, leave suggestions in the comments below for what we can fill the rest of this space with. I'm not against just filling it with, you know, parking, but I'd like to make it a little bit more interesting, a little bit more like this. And as for the rest of this space, I'm actually really enjoying how this bit's looking. This bit back here is probably just going to be a lot of fences and stuff like that as well. More of essentially this, which I love, by the way. I love this little dirt path just weaving through this beautiful garden amongst all these skyscrapers. I think that's really cool. But as for this space, I want to get something in here just before, well, you know it's coming. You can probably see the progress in the video. Just before we get towards the end of the video, I'd like to get something in here. So we have a disaster memorial. I don't know that we need that. We have the official park, which is kind of cool looking, but I don't know that we need that. And I don't really know that we have... Oh, we have room for a courthouse. We have room for a courthouse. That changes things. Oh boy. That really changes things. Okay. So where can I put the courthouse? It's a decent size. Let's start, I want to say here. And can I put the courthouse on that and have it fit? Not really. So it needs to go down a little bit further. So let's go here. And courthouse actually fits. And I'm okay with that. I would almost be tempted to, you know, merge the courthouse into this building back here, because I think that could look interesting as well. So if I was to just grab all of this and shuffle it back, does it look all right having the courthouse merged into that building? You know, I don't think it does, so I don't think we are going to do that. I also don't know that I love the courthouse in that spot. I think it looks really out of place, despite the fact that it does fit. So maybe it can go elsewhere. Maybe it can have its own, and I feel like it probably should have its own little kind of legal district. So let's just have a cheeky look and see if there's anything else I can get in this space. We do have the Grand Library, which if I put that way is interesting looking. If I put it this way, it's also interesting looking. We've also got the Opera House, we've still got the oppression office. We have things like the academic library, which I don't think is going to fit in there at all. We do have the science center, which also fits in there, as well as the expo center, which would probably not be out of place in here at all. So let's move this guy, and I'm not really sure where I'm going to put it. So I think for now we'll delete it. And I think we'll put the expo center in here, because I think that would make sense. I think an expo center being, you know, right downtown would kind of make sense. So this guy right here, expo center, I guess right there. This guy does fit as well, but I like the idea of the expo center. So let's, oh boy, I guess let's do it. I'm tempted to put a bit more of a road in there just to be a buffer, but I think that's fine. And I think at the back side of this thing, it does need a bit of a path, and I think we're going to double that up just to make it look a little bit more dense. And we'll just nudge these guys right up to the road. We'll do the same on this side. So right up to the road and right up to the road. And I think that looks all right. I think we could probably get some trees along this thing at the sides. And in terms of what trees we're going to go for, I'm actually kind of tempted by these guys. I think they could look kind of interesting if we space them out properly. So something like this. Spacing wise, maybe that? No, that hides the building way too much. I think we go with the small ones. I think we just stick with the wee little trees just to line the side of the expo center. So right about, I think that's pretty good. We can go ahead and copy those to the other side as well. And then probably put some fences around them and call it a day on detailing the immediate surroundings of the expo center. What about back here as well? I think we could do some trees there and get rid of that one and that one. I like that. I really like that. Let's get some fences, and then I think that is probably good enough for the expo center. Although in terms of fences, do we want to do the zoo fence? I don't know that I do. I'm actually, you know what I need to get my hands on? I need to get my hands on the network concrete wall thing. Because if I can get my hands on that, we can raise it and lower it as we need to. And I think it would look so good around that expo center. I really do. I think it would look absolutely fantastic. But as it stands, unfortunately, we don't have it. So I'm going to use this. And I think this could look kind of interesting too. So we'll just drop that right there. We can grab we don't want to grab the building. We want to grab this node and this node, move them down a little smidge, and then grab these guys and extend them right to the end about there. Let's just clear this old one out and grab all of these fences. Not the path, just the fence. We'll drop it over here. And we'll just sort of shuffle it to about there, which I think looks pretty good. And similar story for the path, I think. We'll just drop the fences there. We'll grab these two nodes at the end and move them right back in. And I think that looks okay. It's maybe a little bit weird to have this kind of fence surrounding a fairly modern looking building, but I don't think it's so weird that it takes me out of the area, if that makes sense. I think I could see it, right? We go for a relatively low profile, kind of minimalist looking fence for a relatively complex looking building. And I think that looks okay. We got plenty of parking back here and a pretty dense looking downtown area. And I mean, from here as well, you know, you've got the statue, you've got that building at the end. This is pretty good looking. I'm actually quite happy that we have a skyline for our city in cities. Skylines. it's taken long enough, but we haven't got there yet. We're nearly there, but we're getting there. And that's what's important.